A woman asked me what are the pushers for, and that gave me the idea to make this video. Today's lesson is based on page 63 from the Passap manual. Oh, this is my berry hat, what a nut plugin, try to make it after watching this video. The pushers are used when you want to make different stitch patterns than plain knitting. For example, here both locks are set to AX and the left arrow keys are pressed. On the diagram you can see which pushers are in working position, in resting position and out of working position. The pushers combined with the different settings on the stitch selector dial tell the machine which needles to knit, which to tuck and which to slip. This creates different fancy stitches. If you check the small stitch pattern book you will find plenty of diagrams with different pusher arrangements. It's a kind of automation, you set the pushers as shown in the diagram then move the lock to knit the pattern. The pushers are positioned right under the needles on both beds of the machine. To raise or lower the pushers you have to push the small lever at the left and hold it while moving the pushers up or down. That is the lever on the back bed. I will make the demonstration on the front bed. I'm raising some pushers, you can go to your machine and do the same steps with me to see everything better. These pushers are out of working position and the pushers that are close to the rail are in resting position. If you raise the pushers about 1 cm above the rail, they will be in working position. You can see them again. On both locks you can see these 3 buttons. By pressing them the machine can automatically change the position of the pushers while you are knitting. For example, if you press the left arrow key, the pushers will change their places every time you move the lock to the left. Don't forget to write me a comment, your feedback is very important for me. When you press the right arrow key, the pushers will change their places every time you move the lock to the right. If both arrow keys are pressed, the pushers will change their places on each row. Press the 0 key to disengage the arrow keys. I will lower the front bed and I will use only the front lock so you can see better. First I will set the lock to N and I will arrange the pushers in 2x2 division. When the lock is set to N, the machine will ignore the pushers. The N setting is only for plain knitting, the machine is knitting in both directions. When the lever is set to N, the machine will ignore the stitch selector dial as well. Keep your eyes on the needles. If you set the lock to AX, the needles with the pusher in working position will knit and the needles with the pusher in resting position will tuck. This means that they will catch the stitch into the hook but won't knit it off. You can see that they are raised halfway. If you set the lock to BX, the needles with the pusher in working position will knit and the needles with the pusher in resting position will slip. This means that they won't knit. You can see that they are not moving at all. CX is for tubular knitting, the machine will ignore the pushers. When moving the front lock to the left it will knit and when moving it to the right it won't knit. The back lock will knit when moved to the right and the free pass will be when sliding it to the left. DX is for tubular tuck stitch, it is similar to AX but for tubular knitting. When you move the lock to the left, the machine will knit only on the front bed and when you move the lock to the right, the machine will knit only on the back bed. The needles with a pusher in working position will knit and the needles with a pusher in resting position will tuck. EX is for fisherman's rib, the machine will ignore the pushers. When moving the front lock to the left, all needles will knit and when moving it to the right, all needles will tuck. remember this headband, the video was made a long time before the war. FX is for selective fisherman's rip. When moving the front lock to the left, all needles will knit, and when moving it to the right, the needles with the pusher in working position will knit and the needles with the pusher in resting position will tuck. GX is a free pass of the lock, the machine won't knit. When you jam the machine, you have to set the locks to GX and move it. The HX is for tubular slip stitch. The machine will knit tubular, but only where there is a pusher in working position. Tell me in the comments what was the last thing you made on this machine. And this is a combination with the arrow keys. The lock is set to BX and both arrow keys are pressed. When you move the lock to the left, only the needles with the pusher in resting position will knit. After you knit this row, the pushers will change their places, and when you move the lock to the right, the other needles will knit. By the way, my friend Galaxy 3 explained me these things a long time ago. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day and see you in my next video.